What's up, everyone? Kim Becker and Ryan Blackburn here after game 1 of the NBA Finals. Ryan, I know you're probably exhausted, but hopefully still running on some adrenaline after the other night. Of course, the Nuggets take game 1, 104-93. We've got a lot of questions, so I'm going to dive right into them because that is why we were here, to answer questions from fans that they sent in. They sent in some really great stuff. Really excited to hear your insight. So I'm going to kick this one off from Vivian. What were the most promising things that you saw in game 1? How confident are you in this series after that game?
Yeah, I think if you have to boil it down to a couple of things, the first is that Jimmy Butler was not very aggressive against what the Nuggets were doing. I think he only took about 14 shots, and it never really felt like he was impacting the game in a massive way. Like he still ended up with 7 rebounds, 7 assists, but when you only have 13 points, like that's a great thing for Denver. They're not a team that really struggles with Jimmy that much, just because Aaron Gordon is a fantastic matchup for him. But it was really cool to see Denver kind of take Miami's best punch away. He's always going to be the guy who drives their success, and they decided they wanted to funnel things towards Bam a little bit more, and I think that really benefited them. It really slowed down Miami's offense a little bit and kind of put them into some uncomfortable situations. And it felt like Denver really handled that masterfully. So that was probably the most promising thing. How confident am I in the series now? I had Denver in 5. I don't think this really changes my opinion that much either way. There are some things that Miami will do better shooting the basketball, but Denver didn't shoot that well either. And it still felt like they were in very much control of this game throughout. And that was just a very cool thing to see.
Yeah, pretty low scoring, really. Only not even breaking 200, right? And that one. So, yeah, we'll see how the shooting definitely improves, probably on both sides, hopefully, as we go on. I do like Denver in 5. I said Denver in 6 after last night. I was like, probably Denver in 5 if they continue to play that way. But I'm still going to stick with my Denver in 6 just to have something there to back off if it does go for 6.
I think that's fair, though, just because Miami is going to shoot better. I think that's probably going to happen. Now, it is funny. They shot 33% from 3 last night, and Denver shot 29% from 3. So there is some growth for both of these teams, and we'll see which one matters more. But Miami was bombing away last night, and the fact that they only scored 93 points, I think that's just a massively encouraging thing for Denver.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I don't like about Denver in 6 is that it means they would win in Miami, and I feel like they will win in Denver. So that is the other kicker there for 6. But 5, I like it, Ryan. You might be right on the money with that one. This next question from Matt Ferris: was Aaron Gordon exploiting mismatches early in the first bad game planning by MIA or good awareness by Denver? Oh, by
Miami. I should have rewrote that. No, I thought it was a bit of both. I don't necessarily think that it was bad from Miami to try to go with their starting lineup that had been successful against Boston. But that's probably not going to happen going forward. To me, it seems like Miami, with as small as they are, Denver knew exactly what they wanted to do. And so it was good awareness by Denver to try to get the ball to the mismatches, do what you can to get under the rim and just try to make it work in that regard. It was good. And I thought that Aaron Gordon was benefiting from that, especially just because he's as strong as they come from the forward position. And the thing about Miami is they just don't have that many forwards. Like Aaron Gordon matching up with Jimmy Butler is one thing, but him trying to go up against Caleb Martin or Gabe Vincent or Max Strus or guys like that, it's just another thing entirely. So I thought, again, it was good awareness by Denver. I don't know if it was necessarily the wrong decision for Miami to go with their initial starting lineup from last round that gave them so much success. But I don't think that that's the way that Miami is going to win this series. I don't know if they can win this series, but they're going to try some different things. I'd expect them to change things up in game 2.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this next one. How are the Nuggets using MPJ as a zone buster? MPJ also has had a double-double the last 3 games straight. Little fun tidbit there for you.
It's a big deal. Just his defense has been awesome, and we'll get to that a little bit down below. But in terms of Michael Porter busting the zone, he only shot 2 of 11 from 3 last night. That's one thing that I think is going to improve. It was his 3rd worst shooting game in his NBA career as a volume 3-point shooter. He just is very rarely that bad from 3-point range. He's just super, super consistent. But a couple of things. One of the threes that he did hit in the game last night was a it was a very interesting play in the left corner where he gives the ball off, he dumps it off to somebody kind of in that left baseline area, maybe kind of the mid post extended, and then circles around that player, not in like an intentional way, but just kind of finding the soft spot of the zone. And there was nobody there to really contest his shot in a big way, and he makes the shot. That was a big one to me, and it shows there are different ways that as a 6'10" outside shooter that he can really bust what the Miami Heat are trying to do, shooting over the top of smaller players, much in the same way that Aaron Gordon was dunking over the top of smaller players in the paint. Like, they can do both of those things. And I think that Michael Porter got some great looks when going up against the zone, just shooting over the top of people. I think that he'll be better going forward just as that level of shooter. We know what kind of shooter he is. We know what kind of player he is. You can't hold him down for long. When you give him the same looks over and over and over again, he is good enough that he's an elite shooter. He will make those going forward.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, he's been playing great. It's been fun to watch for sure. All right, this next question from Chris. Do you think the Nuggets will play Bam differently going forward? Game 1, they gave him space, any shot that he wanted. Do you think it's going to be the same?
Yeah, 25 shot attempts for Bam Adebayo in this last game. That was, I believe, a career high, if I'm not mistaken. It's rare. It's not something that Denver, like, they were very intentional about it. And I don't think that you allow something like that without having some intention behind it. It was very reminiscent to me of the way that Anthony Davis went off in game 1. Like, he had 40 points, but it didn't really feel impactful. And I think that with Bam and what's happened tonight, it felt very similar. Like, hey, you're going to get a lot of shots. You're not going to get to the free throw line, though, and you're not going to take threes. You're going to be in the mid-range, and you're either going to make those shots or you're going to miss them, and that's fine either way. We don't really care about that aspect of things. And so I don't think that they change anything. I honestly think that what they did was really good. What they did was a very smart thing, playing Bam in that manner. Hey, you're going to have to be the guy to beat us, because in the previous series, Bam, I think, kind of got a little bit nervous and wasn't perfect shooting around the rim, wasn't perfect kind of with those shots being contested. Denver didn't really give him that strong of contests, but I suspect that Jokic, as the series goes along, will get a little bit more aggressive, just more and more and more, trying to make those shots just 5% more difficult. And if they are, and he starts missing some of those, then that I think that's a great recipe of success for Denver, even if Bam feels like he has to hit those shots, and he just might not be able to.
Yeah, they may have figured it out. All right, this next one from Brian. Is there anything specific you've seen in these playoffs that explain why or how MPJ has become such a better defender? Kind of what you talked about a little bit. Here's that follow-up question.
Yeah, like, I was really impressed with MPJ's defense. I think that what he's able to do with his length, with his athleticism, that was really, really impressive. But the one thing that I think, if you're looking for specifics here, I think his game plan discipline has been fantastic. I think what he is being asked to do as he's a more cerebral player now. He's somebody who understands and views the game in a little bit of a different way now. I think he's taken that seriously, and you take it more seriously in the playoffs than you do in the regular season. Just naturally, you're actually looking at the scouting report in the playoffs as opposed to glancing at it in the regular season. These guys know how much this means to them. And Michael Porter, he's bought in fully. I think everybody around the team has said as much, that it's very clear how important this is to him and what he has done to become a better defender. And part of it is just getting a little bit more healthy. Part of it is understanding and seeing reps over and over and over again. He was naturally going to be a better defender going forward. But part of it is, and I think the largest part, is just the want to and the know-how of, hey, this is how I have to defend this. I now have plenty of reps behind me that I can really showcase how to do it. I am going to be great at this. And it's been really cool to see Michael Porter just step up in this regard, because you didn't know if this was what you're going to get, right? Like, I think that a lot of folks didn't think that Michael Porter would ever be a positive defender in his NBA career. And turning around and becoming one of Denver's best defenders in the NBA Finals, that's so cool.
Yes, it's so cool. Would you say, now that you've been so close to the team for quite some time, I mean, having Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and MPJ, those top three really on the team, arguably, would you say that that combo is probably one of the best in the NBA right now?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I think the way that they have, and the cool thing is they've done it together. They were
that's
drafted
exactly.
together. They've
Yeah.
developed together. They've gone through the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, and you see what it is on the other side. How great offensive players can lock in on the defensive end. Murray made a great defensive play last night. Jokic's defense has been much better in these playoffs, and Porter, I think he's had the most wow defensive plays of all of them. And you've seen an elite offensive trio turn into at least decent, like and
Yeah.
borderline good defensive players during these playoffs, and that has just been such a fascinating thing to watch. It's actually a really fascinating commentary on team building. Like you
Mhm.
want to believe in the offensive players and believe that they can become better defenders
Yeah.
rather than trying to flip it the other way around.
No, and I love that because obviously there's always so much talk about Joker, and then Jamal Murray had such a great game, multiple games in the beginning of the playoffs, and he's continuing to play really well. But to see MPJ also step it up, you realize that it's such a team sport. You know, we can talk about Joker all we want. We know as long as Jokic is out there, the Nuggets have a chance, but the supporting cast has become really important. And I think that MPJ is playing a high role in that right now, which is really fun to watch. So
100%. 100%.
awesome. Okay, cool, Ryan. Well, we've still got 4 more questions, guys, that we're going to get to here. So, this next one from Vivian: what do you think the most points scored in a game will be by one player, and who will put it up? I like this.
Yeah, this is fun. This is an interesting, good thinking question, and I like trying to think about. Okay, am I going to just stick with Denver here? Am I going to go to Miami? Because I think it might be Jimmy. I think
Okay.
Jimmy might eventually get to a place where
Yeah.
he's putting up a crazy total. I think the way that the Nuggets are going to play him is they're going to try to like they're going to keep trying to show him a lot of bodies going forward. But like I do think that'll be lessened and lessened as Miami hits more shots, as they're better on the outside. Like they're going to start playing him more one on one. And then Jimmy's going to have to be even more aggressive in that regard. And he didn't get any free throw attempts in this last game. I think that he's liable to go off for 40, 42, 44 points in a game at some point. I don't think that Jokic is going to do that. I don't think that Murray is going to do that, just with the way that the Heat have to help on all of these. Like
Mhm.
maybe Jokic puts up a crooked number, and that would be really cool. Like seeing him put up 50 in an NBA Finals game or something like that. That would be
Yeah.
awesome. Same thing with Murray, and like he has the shot attempts. Murray is going to get the shots in order to do that. So we're going to see, but I do think that the safest bet is probably Jimmy, just because at some point he's going to have to just say, screw it, I've got to take all these shots because
Yep.
we're not getting anywhere
Yep.
with me not taking shots. And so he'll be more aggressive, and then they'll have to figure it out.
Yeah, I do think we're going to see a game where Jimmy Butler goes off in this series. I don't think that the Nuggets are going to be able to quiet him the entire time. So I like that answer a lot. I love that question. So thank you, Vivian, for that one. We've got 3 more here. This next one from Pablo: what's the biggest adjustment the Nuggets might have to respond to? Is there any way for the Heat to even win one game? Ooh, this person thinks the Nuggets will be sweeping again.
Little spicy, a little bit spicy for sure. I think one thing that Heat fans can take solace to is that like there will be a time where Denver doesn't shoot well and Miami does, and like that's just going to happen. It'll probably be in game 3 or game 4,
Yep.
and they will get at least one game that way. I still don't think that this is going to be a sweep. Just the way I mean, Denver is the better team, and I feel pretty confident saying that. But I also feel confident that Miami, they have the mentality of a champion, and
Yeah.
they will bounce back in that regard. Like Max Strus is not going to go 0 of 9 from 3 again. That's just not going to happen. But the biggest adjustment, I think, Haywood Highsmith. Like, how weird is that to say? Like, I think he's probably going to play a little bit more. He might even start in this next game over either Strus or Caleb Martin. Just another guy with size, another player that they can throw at, whether it's Murray, whether it's Porter, whether it's Gordon, somebody who could be a little bit more physical and just give them a little bit of a better matchup. Haywood Highsmith had 18 points in game 1, and I thought looked very comfortable. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts in game 2 and they try to just give Denver a little bit of extra size so they can't punish Miami in the same way that they did in this last game. Now we'll see if that actually works, but whether it's Haywood Highsmith or Cody Zeller, they go two centers, or if it's Kevin Love or whoever, I think that Miami is going to change their starting group.
No, I agree with you there. I don't think that we're going to see a sweep either. So definitely going to have to be some adjustments here for the Nuggets, but hopefully they can get game 2 again. They've undefeated in the postseason at home right now, 9-0 in Ball Arena in the playoffs. So hopefully they can continue that with game 2 on Sunday night, of course, but we've got 2 more questions to wrap this guy up. This next one, do you expect to see Kevin Love in game 2 based on how undersized the Heat looked in the first game?
Yeah, similar lines here. It wouldn't surprise me if Kevin Love gets off the bench. I don't know like how healthy he is. I don't know whether he's the right guy for this matchup, but he is a capable shooter. He is a smart player, somebody who has seen a lot of different things and knows how to impact the game. But I don't think he's the right guy. I think that when you talk about, okay, how is Aaron Gordon going to match up with Kevin Love? I don't think that's going to be much of an issue for Denver. When you talk about if Kevin Love defends Jokic and they have Bam as kind of that rover, I don't think that that's going to be much of an issue for Jokic at all. I think it's just not. So we will see what they ultimately do, but we could see Kevin Love for sure. It wouldn't surprise me if he was out there just as one of the other guys that can give them a little bit more size and versatility on that end. And also just because he's a good shooter, that they're going to need to shoot. Like that's just how the Heat are going to win this series. If they can, is they're going to have to outshoot Denver by a lot. And Kevin Love is capable of that.
Yeah. Well, they won't. And that's coming from a fan perspective, which leads me into this last question that I also really like. And it's a good question because it can get kind of tough. What have the finals been like for you, Ryan, especially, and for everyone in the media here that have been fans of the team for so long?
Yeah, I think first of all, Ray, who's asking this question, is as a long-time reader and listener back to my Denver Stiffs days, like just always supportive, and I really appreciate that. But that's how we started. We started as fans, especially at Denver Stiffs, and you cover the team and you invest some time and energy and emotion into it. And you don't know if things are going to happen this way. But I remember back in those early days at Denver Stiffs where we're talking, man, is Jokic the best player over Danilo Gallinari? Is that what is happening? Could he be better as a center than Kristaps Porzingis or Karl Anthony Towns? Like, is that still a thing that could happen? And to see us go from that point all the way up to the NBA Finals, where, it's pretty clear that Jokic is maybe one of the 20 best players to ever play the game of basketball. It's been an awesome, really, really cool run. Just sitting in the arena last night, it was emotional just seeing that initial that they played something on the Jumbotron that was talking about 50 years of history for the Denver Nuggets franchise while the entire arena was cheering and chanting, "Let's go Nuggets." It felt good. And it was just a very, very cool moment. See, look how far we've come. Look how far, where Denver was back when I first started really writing about the team was right before Brian Shaw was fired. So there's a lot there. And to see Denver go from point A to point B, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you've got some more fun ahead of you, Ryan. A few more games and then hopefully an NBA championship for the Denver Nuggets. So some really exciting things. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. Everybody that sent in questions, enjoy games 2 and 3. I think we'll be back before game 4. No, we won't, will we? Next Friday?
We could probably do it. I think game 4 is on Friday of next week. So we should try to record something prior to game 4.
Yeah, and then we'll definitely have a lot of content for you guys after every single game, so make sure that you're staying tuned to milehighsports.com and to all of our social media channels. Ryan, thank you so much. Enjoy today and tomorrow before you're back at it Sunday night.
Thanks for having me, Kim.